To Friday, TGIF mofos. We are the first one in the chat. Boom shakalaka boom. Bum 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 bum. Okay, let us begin. Whoa. All right. Doom. We'll just play in full screen for a little bit. Okay. Doo. This one has the option, so we'll work back from here like that. Maybe take that way. Okay. What's up to everyone that could be in the chat? We can't see it right now. It's Friday. I should have just killed him. Took 4 damage for nothing. Yeah. Hmm. Yo, 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 what's up? Wait, let me see. Hold up. Exit full screen. What? What is going on? What is going on? It's just wanting to do some price disco madness. That's for sure. Pretty much. What you talking about? Yo. That's cool. That's good to hear. Indeed. That's good. It happens. You gotta look on these things on like a monthly time frame. Like, don't look at how, yeah, like these firms and stuff set them up in like only 3 days to pay out or whatever. It's like, what's the rush? You know, if you're even like putting, yeah, sorry. Yeah, right, right, right. Yeah, that's, yeah, I mean, like we've all been there, or at least I've been there, where you have this narrative in your head that you need to do something by X date or for whatever reason, and then it doesn't work out that way because of that impulse or that urge. So it's like removing the urge and just becoming empty and just like, you know, going with the pace of uh you know, controlled risk, and slow but steady wins the race as the back burner. Yeah, no worries, man. It definitely is. Trading is one of those, like, in the end, it's you pushing the button and no one else. So, like, nobody can really answer to that but you, but everyone can relate. So, it's like a relatable experience. Everyone can share their pitfalls, and, you know, ultimately, in the end, it's like everyone has to kind of experience certain pitfalls to have epiphanies after the pitfalls. So, that's what the scar tissue is. It makes you numb to those things, and it gets less painful. Double bubble. Did they postpone that again? Hold up. They should say that in their Discord if they do. Yeah, they did a while back, I remember. Mo money. You need a mo? What? Why does that matter? They're like, I'm offended. It's like the modern audience. Like, not everyone identifies with having a wiener, okay? Well, Corn Dog would have them blow a gasket with his, like, you know, wiener pick. Although it's like, it was what do you call it? Like, hard enough to decipher that I didn't notice until um Grape Soda pointed it out, and I was like, wait, he's right. It is his junk. Hmm. Geordie LaForge? Star Trek was so cool. It was like a lightning in a bottle moment in history with Gene Roddenberry, and Alex Kurtzman ruined it. What happened? Probably not. He was such a good actor. I mean, even the word choice, he probably, I think I saw a point like it was up to him, like the whole engage, like that's so classic. The way he spoke, the elegance, and how he was like a diplomat, but he was decisive, and he brought back the like whole chain of command. It's like modern Star Trek is like all about vibes and feelings, and they question the chain of command. It's not Star Trek. It just has the label, which is how all modern stuff does. They just steal the name and repackage it with modern audience writing by millennials. Yeah, yeah, he was. They're all like Shakespeare actors. Even like the guy who played Cisco, I forget his name, James Avery, or something. Mm. Yeah, he was funny. No, as soon as they started like taking the eyeball out of Ichib and like, retconning, like making like Seven of Nine gay and everything, I was like, oh my God. And then they had this lady who was addicted to substances, like guilt tripping Picard, like for having a chateau, like basically trying to say he has white privilege. And I'm like, wait, what the hell? Because it's like they've gone beyond like financial needs, and you're trying to take a modern lens and apply it to the 25th century where they've gone beyond that. So obviously the writers didn't even know anything about why he has a chateau or how anyone could, or the lady who has a substance abuse thing who's like estranged to her son was like somehow a protagonist we're supposed to empathize with and not Picard. It was like Picard was getting talked down to in his own show. I was like, this is wow. It's what a transition. Nothing but net. Yeah. Message in a bottle, I think it was. Yeah, it was. And they had that Writers Guild strike in like, what was it, 2008? And that's where all the writers left the market. And then we get this shitty millennial writing. Right. Or they like take a really half-assed idea and turn it into just a season. They like milk it. And you're like, this could have just been an hour. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love sliders. Sliders was awesome. Right. Yeah. We are open. Yeah. The Never-Ending Story is one of those. It, you don't realize it until after you watch it, like all the undertones of that movie. Yeah, we pulled back into like 700 in sell side and we're coming off the value area high here. I heard that's what happened with The Matrix, the new reboot. Like they try to get meta and self-referential because they were like, either you make this reboot or we're gonna make it without you. So they made it as this like kind of way they self-sabotaged it on purpose so that they can't franchise it like Terminator or others. And if you watch the new Matrix with that in mind, like the director, the Wachowski directors, I mean, I guess you refer them as sisters now, but um, but yeah, the Wachowskis, yeah, but they purposely shit on themselves, like to make it so that it doesn't continue because they wanted it to end apparently, and they talk about that in the movie because they're like, Warner Brothers wants this cash cow to keep going, Right. Yeah. Right. Like The Last of Us, that guy kind of like did that to be like counter narrative, like kill the protagonist in the sequel and whatnot. I never even played Last of Us 2 because I knew it was gonna be end like that. I was like, nah, man, I'm not playing as somebody who kills the main character. Right. He was like a cinema kid that wanted to like kind of subvert expectations. Right. But it was so postmodern and lame. Like, it's just, yeah, people are like, but it's like the simple story has worked for thousands of years for a reason. Like the hero's journey and all the story circle of the redemption of the hero. Right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be all nihilistic with no like lesson to be learned. Just like life sucks. Suck it up, buttercup. Yeah. I heard they're gonna have like the angry Hulk come back, not the like, controlled one. Yeah. Oh yeah, you read the thing, you posted pictures of it. So you already know what the story is. And the Punisher and stuff. You got the Scorpion, right? Yeah, I have a yearly subscription to that. I just don't have time to read it as much. I try to read it to my son at bedtime and stuff. You ever read the Ultimates? How Galactus takes on like the chaos and the they turn Galactus into a good guy. Yeah, I'm waiting for acceleration below 685. Those were fun. Like Billy Madison and stuff like Waterboy. You can do it. Oh, that's funny. That was such a funny movie how they had the briefcase of IOUs at the end. It's just like they're so dumb. They just spent it all. Oh, that was great. Or like me, myself, and Irene, and just like his kids are the mailman. They watch like brain rot stuff. Like, thankfully, because I'm in Japan, my daughter's and watches Japanese anime. Anime still has narrative structure, so she watches like Jujutsu Kaisen and Solo Leveling and all these ones with really good storylines. And then I make sure, like, if it's bullshit, I'll just tell her like, stop watching this fucking bullshit. Like I'm really critical of it. Like, I'll just say, like, you can watch as much of this as you want, but this, like, after this episode, turn this shit off. I don't even want it in the background. We're looking like buyer absorption here if we go below 686. Mm-mm. Yeah. Here we go, possibly. I'm in this. Have a good one. Yep. You guys ever watch Solo Leveling? I can't recommend it enough. It's so awesome. Yeah, the third season was kind of like they had animator issues, and it started to pick up after like 3 or 4 episodes, but they were like, they call it like One Frame Man because they were just with the yeah. Yeah, it was like a Google Slides. It was like, wait, what's going on? Okay, locking this in. That was good. Got that trailed. But yeah, like solo leveling, you think that it would be over after one season with how strong he gets. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it I started going down the rabbit hole of the comics, and I'm like, what in the heck? Like they easily have like 3 more seasons. And you're just like, damn, the lore on it is so rich that you have so much more to go. But so much happens between episode 1 and the end of the season. You're just like, how was that one season? But, you know, like there's the story arc of the main character is what makes it so good cuz he's just, it's a typical hero's journey thing, no more no less. It doesn't try to be more than what it is, but it's like you appreciate the way it's crafted. It's crafted very, very well. There's a reason why it was like the top anime in 2025. But yeah. Mhm. What's up? Oh, nice. Mhm. To get hit? Yes. Yes. Mhm. But essentially, yes, I use those for when what I'm seeing as a theory to plays out to be true or get negated. And if it's getting negated, where would that negation occur? It would be where my stop is, and it's relatively near where I enter so that the risk is really tight. But then if my and then my theory would just rip, and then the reward becomes, you know, not endless, but it becomes definitely like at least like a 6 to 1 if it rips, because the one is like $200 or $400 because it's like I'm trying to get the momentum of it, and then I can guard myself accordingly from there. So I was looking at the volume point of control like fade, and there was like a bunch of buyers here. There's a 60 lot at 700, and then a 100 lot at 686, and then it bounced up to 707, and another, what was that, 69 lot entered, or it got hit for buyers. And then I was like, okay, if it comes back on 686 with aggression, then it'll start rewarding this seller and punishing this buyer, and it's the volume point of control. So it was like two pieces of evidence, and then it came back on that. So I was like, all right. And then so when it broke, I just, guarded behind 685 and then started trailing it. Just anything over 100 is what I'm like looking at on NQ for like, because 100 NQ is significantly more expensive than 100 ES. So it's a large amount. And generally the iceberg in over 100. So it's like seeing 100 lots is something significant for the structure. Yeah. Or and they're doing it over time. So throughout, like when I boot up, like you'll see I have ones over to the left here by the volume point of control from before open. There was one at 713, and then there was some on the way down. So there's like other candidates that occurred prior. So generally I circled those two because those also could be part of the narrative just from before. And that's kind of what the node is, right? Like it's just the narrative building up orders over time. So mhm. Yes. Yeah, there's like 100 at 716, 100 at 709, 100 at 706 on the push up, and then there was another 100 at 728, and then a seller at 723. So it's kind of like, yeah, it looks like buyer exhaustion. And if it continues below these guys, you're getting that to be true. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just like, it's a, yeah, and it's just objectively something that you notice, and it's not like an opinion. It's like, oh, there's these 400 lot buyers. That's 400 contracts, and then it's like, oh, there's 100 seller. It's okay, and snapperoo. It looks more complicated than it is, doesn't it? It's like it's like a lot of numbers and you think someone's being like heady about it or something, but it's literally like the dude in the Matrix like, yeah, there's a girl in a red dress. There's this, it's just like I'm not really it's not that deep, It's just like sellers and buyers, that's it. And there's a lot of times it bearishly retests like it's doing now, and then if you see it like jitter away from them, then it's like getting that fatigue, and it's just like over time. And then it's like, well, where would it be negated? It's like 716. It's like, so okay, so then I don't want to be in this if it rips above that. And it all depends on your risk. Like if you're in micros, you might even be like caveman and add into it. But if you're in minis, you definitely don't want to be in above that. It's like it depends on how tight of your trade management you are, you know. But that you get used to like seeing stuff, and it's just like you lock in like it's not even like a pattern. It's just like you see it over time. Like you see certain things over time, but we're in an uptrend, so it's like you don't want to be married to shorts. But and we just have like 100 lot enter for buyer. Right. And then you just do it. And it's literally like that. It's like a fish biting on the lure, and then you take it, and then you make some, and then you lock it out, and you're done. Or you move to the next account. It's like, and it's like really methodical in that way. Like you're not really like looking for much more than that. Mm. And now it's jittering above it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, there is a theory, and that's kind of like that course, if you watch it by that Voltos guy or whatever, but it's essentially there's always four players trading the limit in the market of both buying and selling. And so the aggressor is faded or absorbed or accepted by the passive person. So it's the passive person generally who's in control, not the market one. But there are cases in trending markets where the buyers are like, "I'll just take it here," and they're and there's trending up, and it's just like you see times where it does just rip in delta to 9K and delta the whole day going up. It's there is no like 100% of the time it does this. But it's like, but in general there's like the theory of like market auction, like it's fun, it's fundamentally using auction theory and in supply and demand, and how if you flood it, the buyers have too much supply, so they have to like go to a lower price to meet the demand. And it's like, you see that exhaustion and absorption through that dynamic or whatever. It's like a market dynamic you're observing, and you can only observe it by seeing the footprint. So it's kind of like you're seeing the supply and demand play out, I guess. No, go for it. What were you gonna say? Or yeah, like there's times where they trap someone, and that's what inducement is. It's like you induce somebody to DCA with the idea that it's a fake out breakout or something, but then they're like psych, and then once they hook that person, that's what essentially the slingshot is like, from what I've gathered, is like it breaks out of a range, and then the opposite side enters in this rash way with market delta of the opposite nature. Whether that, like, if it breaks up to the upside, you'll see a bunch of sellers on a pullback as it retests the top. And then all that was doing was getting somebody to induce to add. And then it goes, it's thank you. And then it just rockets against them. And so you could play the slingshot play, or you could play like the absorption of seeing like in a range a bunch of one side, and there's just like this kind of narrative that plays out in a range, and there's this narrative that plays out on the breakout and the pullback. And yeah, there's this kind of like, there's certain things that recur, is the best way I can make it objective. There are times that happens there are times that happens, like in bullish markets, or like let's say it's on like seek and destroy mode, but it's normally like if the buyers are in control, then at a double bottom they're passively limiting orders into the sell stops of the people who get liquidated at those double bottoms. So you'll see a huge, there's more oftentimes than not, so you'll see like a huge amount of spikes, like, or even if you don't see like a candidate, like for example, on the first double bottom of this like breakout or whatever, you had a 400 delta push, a negative 100, and then a negative 288 without even looking at inside the candle or the of the 2000 auction. You had like negative 600 in sell side push. And then it pushed up 282, and then pushed up 166, and then pulled back 92 with a candidate that I circled for 100 at 685. And then it went bonk and went up against them. So you had the sellers, and the real buyers are the passive buyers of that aggressive sell. So there's a whale literally like in that image I share all the time, where they're limit buying into those aggressive sells, and that's the real control. If somebody's market Right. So if the market buyer, you'll normally notice like market buying like that at a top. Like we just hit 300 and now we're hitting 270, and it's like we're at a 786 of the pullback. It's like, are these people buying because they think it's going to go up, or is this stopped out shorts? Most likely stop out shorts, because who would be buying up here other than that? And does that mean it's going to fade on these guys? I have no idea, but it's like you just notice. No, that's a buyer. Those were 199 buyers. So the buyers hit the bid. So that was the 199 buyer at 762. And then 62 at 761. It's delta is market orders. So the people hitting market buy are positive delta, and those hitting market sell are negative delta. And then you obviously have no, because there's, like I said, there's 4 participants. You have the market participants and the limit participants. When you set a limit order, you get less fees. Everything about it is more calm and patient. And that's the other receiving end of a market. So when somebody market buys, there's somebody limit selling your market. Do you get it? Because there's always an opposite to that reaction. And so the aggressive person is selling to the passive person. And the aggressive sellers buy. There's a passive buyer to that person that's like, yeah, I don't mind buying for this cheap price. Oh, thank you. I'll just buy 100 more. If it's negative, those are sellers. If it's positive, those are buyers. So positive delta is buying and negative delta is selling. And so at the bottom, like where we went to at the current bottom at 631, there was a 400 sell push, and then another 100 push, and then a 282 push, and then we pushed out into 282 of positive, and then 166 in positive, and then a negative 92 sell push that didn't work, and then 438 in buying. And it's like you can see generally into bottoms, you'll see a lot of sellers. And then at tops, you'll see a lot of buyers. And it's like you always on the 2000 tick in that bottom, like information on my bottom left that has the session and the delta within those 2000 ticks. If you look at each 2000 tick candle as an auction, it will tell you who won the auction with the delta at the bottom. I have ask bid delta delta, and it has the delta percent and the delta of that auction. So this pullback just now from 768 to 745 was negative 413 sell delta, negative delta. Inside of that, you had a 81 and a 60 seller at 760, which were, going just below that 200 buyer that we just talked about. So that was kind of like buyer exhaustion right there. And that is just what you notice over time. And then this could just be a slingshot if it recovers all this. That was just a 400 pullback. and somebody could have absorbed that. You know what I mean? What do you mean is my footprint set? I have it to bid ask because I can read now. I know what, not only is it color coded, so the blue tells me that it's, buying and selling is the winner of that price point, but I also know which side is hitting which and what that means. In the beginning, I just had the delta number because I can't process that. Over time, you get used to what the bid and the ask is, but I set it to bid and ask mode, but I didn't do that originally. Originally, I was doing 5-minute candles and just delta. I was ultra simplified. And then as I got more understanding, I wanted to see each bid and ask and how many. And then I see like, oh, there's only 25 sellers to the 206 buyers here. Wow. And then I have a double footprint on a toss. That's why it has that red next to the blue, because it tells me to look at this because of the total volume is more than all the other volume. And so I have like a dual footprint. That's why I like a toss, because I can really like narrow down the information that stands out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to look at meaningless stuff. I look at the candidates that appear, as significant. Uh, the buyers hit the ask and the sellers hit the bid. I have a thing that if at about 2 minutes into this video, I go over like what that looks like on the bid and the ask. If you watch this video I made, it will tell you exactly what that looks like in auction theory and everything. But it's like they're hitting the right. So buyers hit the right side of price action and the sellers hit the left. And that's because there's a gap in what the value is perceived, and then the buyers want you to buy it at the lowest price. They want to buy the sellers want you to sell it I need to watch my own thing again, but basically you're hitting the other side of price. Yeah. Yeah. So and then the person trying to hit it is always trying to hit up. Like the buyer hits up because price is moving away from where they were going to buy it, and they're feeling pressure to buy it higher because they feel that value is escaping them. So they have to market buy to grasp the higher ladder up, and then the sellers are doing the opposite. And so they hit the down ladder. Yeah. No. It's just market. Yeah. But you can get a distinction of who's who based off of like how they absorb the aggression. So that's why in this video I say it's a twofold question. It's like, who is the aggressor and are they rewarded or punished for that aggression? Those are the two questions I ask myself. Like, is this person getting rewarded or punished? Okay, if they're getting punished, then do I want to fade them? Or are they getting rewarded? Do I want to join them? You know, and that's it, really. It's like I tried to simplify it. Right. And so now we're getting like we got negative 400 delta, and then we pushed up and we didn't really get any delta. And then we got a negative 200 delta and a negative 400. So we're getting all this massive negative delta here. You also had that spoofer for 500 on, just above on ES. I didn't point it out because we weren't talking about that, but and then that's acceptance. It's either accepting or absorbing. It's those two things. You're either accepting that aggressor or absorbing them. Those are the official words that this like style of looking at the dynamics uses, is absorption and acceptance. But it's like reward or punish. That's what I thought of. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ah, yeah. So it's like you get used to like seeing them as buyers because the buyers always hit the right. They're always punching right. And then the sellers are always punching left. That's why I use those little like punching icons. Because it was like you just get used to seeing it that way. It takes time, but it's like, to me it's more clear than not having it. Right. Well, my negative delta is purple and my positive delta is blue. So if the positive delta is not blue, then that's not buying, I guess. Right. But the actual mm, yeah, and the actual thing behind that is the whale that's absorbing the sellers. So the real strength is the guy you don't see who's absorbing the selling and absorbing the buying. And that's where you're like, that's the pivot point. Right. They're like they're absorbing into the position. Yeah. Because they have a lot of orders to let go of. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they need the liquidations and they need the slingshots in order to get in. Because if they just market it in, they would manipulate the market. So in order to not manipulate the market, they need to induce people to let them in. Manipulation on NQ too. Yeah. I definitely don't. Yeah, it's like I'm sure with anything, like it's all about dialing in. Like if think of it like a microscope, right? And you're looking through, like a 30x lens or a 100x lens or a 300x lens, like certain cellulose of a plant is not going to show up till you go 1,000x in. But if you're trying to look at like an ant's antenna, like and you're 1,000x in, you're like, am I looking at the leg? What the fuck am I looking at? So it's like it depends on what you're trying to look at and how much volume is inside the thing you're looking at. So you would have to dial it in for ES. This is just that's why like I can't really do anything but NQ because I've spent so much time dialing it in for NQ. I got it under this really nice lens. It's congested for sure. Right. This is why I think it makes NQ almost easier because you can kind of like find that pivot point. Because ES is more congested. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But I do know like when the spoofer shows up on ES, it's generally like showtime. Like that's why I look at ES for that. And the resting orders on ES give you like targets. And that's why I have like, I have these absorption bubble not alerts, but like uh it's kind of like on Bookmap, it tells me in my headphones like absorption, ES, wah, 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 and it reads the level and it tells me those little purple and green lines. Now, as you see, it's so frequent. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. So I don't even try to understand it because it's just too much noise. But those like But you see that like line of 164 at 7160 and 7170, 341, and then down at 7112.5, 527. Like those are the things that are interesting to me, because it's like, okay, there's a resting order up there. Are they going for that? And then like that is easy to kind of like decipher through the chaos. So, and then there was a spoofer for 400 that appeared and got hit. But yeah, it's like there's another 400 lot that's just a spoofer just above price. And so it's like, are the spoofers getting their wish? Like, it's like I use it for that regard, but I see what you're saying. But yeah, like that's why I don't look for in the footprints for ES, because it's just like it's like trying to find like some meaning in like in like a 5-lane traffic. Like you're trying to find one car in like 5 lanes of traffic. There's another one I have that what is it? Let me see. I'm gonna try to find this video. Hold up. There's this other one. Here we go. I found it. All right, good. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Yep, have a good one. This is for what? For footprints? Um, here, here's one that's pretty good. Hold up. This was one that I watched back in the day, but let me see if this is the one. Because I didn't really like. I was just looking for. I was just looking for like, once I understood what that was, like hitting the bid and hitting the ask, once I knew what that framework was, then I didn't want to see just the delta anymore as is. I wanted to see who is hitting what side, because if you just have the delta winner, then you don't know the other side's aggression either. Like you can see like 81 to 35 or 60 to 19. And so I can see the percentage difference of who's, like of the 79 total, 60 of it was sellers and 19 were buyers. 81 were sellers and 35 were buyers. So I can kind of see within those inflection points how strong of like, because it's not one-sided. But if you just see the delta, I'll just see like 60, and I'm like, but it wasn't just 60, it was more than that. So I look at the aggressive side versus the both on both sides, and then like who was significant. Sometimes it's significantly imbalanced, like it's like and that they call that like unfinished auctions, where you have like zeros on one side and then like 100 on the other. So like that 113 seller to 31 buyer at 731 was like essentially the end of that slingshot engineering and then going up while I was looking for the link. So there was like 113 seller that got hit at 731. It retested him and then induced a 69 seller at 737 and went, thanks, and then just went up. So the sellers lost their steam right there. And it's just like you can go back and replay stuff that you missed. You're doing something else. You go in and getting a bagel or doing whatever, taking a dump, come back and you're like, damn, I missed it. What did I miss? And you're like, oh, that hit that 113 seller, followed, retested them, bounced off them, induced another 69, then bounced out. And you're like, you see that over and over and over and over until you get used to like sellers at bottoms, buyers at tops. Like it just becomes this like ingrained thing you see. You know what I mean? And then there's times where like days where there's so many inflection points, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. And then at least if you don't know, you stay out, or you like, wait for the slingshot, because the slingshot after that is more probability to occur than inside the range, like battles. Yeah. But that follow the footprints to profits, like that guy who like I think I watched this one when I was watching Delta, and then he talked about putting it in bid versus ask, and I was like, oh. And then like once I knew how the auction theory works and everything, then I was like, I'd rather just see the raw like bid and ask and then isolate the candidates that are massive. And then that's why I found ATAS to be the best, because I can do double footprints. I can have the volume footprint next to the Delta one with bid and ask and color weighting. It's like layered 4 layers deep of like information that it filters out in real time, so I don't need to think about it. Because if I look at trading views, it's just all the same color and it's not color weighted. So your eyes have to do the filtering and it sucks. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, it's like I could be playing a video game and see all the candidates while I'm playing, because it doesn't use that much brain power, actually. Exactly. Because it could be like 50 versus 50. And you're like, they're pretty even on the aggression there. Like maybe someone's hedging, like, and it's like, but still there's a large amount of volume and you'll see. And then if I like zoom out, it'll like put it relative to what I'm zoomed out at. So like that 200 guy at 761 is still bright blue when I zoom all the way F out. So I can kind of like put things in perspective and really easily, because I could see the blue even though I can't see the number, and then I could see where's other relative blue, not, oh, okay, there's more here. And it's like, it I just like, I dig the relative color weighting with what I have in the picture. I would stay out of that. Like it's just like there's something going on and I don't know what it is, but it's not clear. So it's just like if it's like foggy, you know, like I'm not gonna go out and try to like, you know, sift around for something in the fog. I'm gonna wait for it to be clear, clear skies. Like going back to, you know, where it hits a significant amount, you know, and that's where, like, if I don't see a significant candidate, having the information at the bottom where I'm like, it hit 762 and then it hit 400, because I can zoom out and see what delta it hit, even though if it sometimes it just hits a bunch. And it's not like one person or one order of block of 100. It's just the entire push down was like 1,000. And you're like, that's something to notice too. And then how does it recover? Because sometimes it'll recover the whole drop down of 700 and only take like 100 buyers in the amount that it pushed down, which shows like a lot of seller weakness because there's no like seller, like it recovers the whole sell hit instantly with no buyer aggression inside. So it's like you can see what happens after, like sometimes I could compare the hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Testing? No? Oh, really? What? Okay. Yeah. Um, like these videos are more like produced than I can like go over certain aspects at one time, but I'd need like yeah, I'd need to have some time to go over some stuff, but I don't have yeah, it wouldn't be I can't really dedicate to going into like this type of thing that they have on the videos, but I'm happy to go over it while I'm live, but to make it into like a PowerPoint or something. Ah, yeah, yeah, he could do that. Yeah, I gave him like a reaction because I was like, that's cool if he wants to do that for sure. But that Market Delta guy, he was really good to watch. I watched that thing over and over and over again, and then that footprint for guide for beginners by ATAS is good for understanding how market theory works in the auction, and they use like peaches or pears or something. It's really funny, but they use these like comical illustration of pears being delivered and things like that to get you to understand. Yeah. So that's a really good reference. All those links are good. And the one that I made, ironically, I made mine first, and then like a day later, ATAS released that footprint guide for beginners. But that the way they talk about it and they do it with the bid and ask in front of you is like you watch that, and that will make it ultra clear, I think, because it will show you what's happening. Like somebody dumps a bunch of peaches and nobody needs it anymore, so they start lowering the price because the demand's low, and so that's what a buyer exhaustion is. So it's kind of like the buyers are like done buying; they bought enough, and so they have to go to a lower price to meet the demand, which has died. So who is asking that was thinking about pattern about markets definitely most solid and advanced. So many of us start such a we talk about the job. Yeah, I saw those questions. Cool. It was honestly the like final level. It's like footprints is like kind of like the final boss. That's why they call it like level 2 data, because everything else before that, like with indicators, is like level 1 because you're just seeing like moving averages and stuff. But it's like where the people get induced through the level 1 EMA crosses and everything is what you're looking at. You're like seeing beyond the level 1 into people's intentions and stuff. And then using that as like a theory for them being right or wrong. Well, I gave the Renko setup, like I do trade management on Ninja Trader, and then Ninja Trader has like, because I'm looking at, you know, things zoomed in here on ATAS and Bookmap. So I have my own stuff on Ninja Trader, and then I have other stuff I'm looking at with key levels like previous day highs and stuff like that, and volume points of control from other days. Right now we're in price discovery, so there's nothing up here in terms of key levels, but I'm looking at other key levels to line up as evidence on TradingView. And yeah, there's, and then Ninja Trader has like Renko blocks and stuff for like trade management of how far it could continue for that. And that's about it. It's not 840. Let's see. Yeah, 300 lot. I see that. It's like a little mini spoofer. Resting means it's been there a while, and if you look left and you see that the resting order okay, so like a shorts stop will be above price, right? Theoretically, because they don't want it to go up. So if you see price action and then you see a like 100 lot above price action enter like an hour ago, and then it starts to go against that 100 lot, then that person is underwater. And if it hits that order that's not changing, the key is that line is static for a long time. That's resting. This is just somebody who entered recently from the drop to 26,825-ish. It is kind of resting since then, but it hasn't been resting there for long. But technically, if it was a short, they're underwater now, so it could be hitting them. But yeah, there was another guy, let's say over at 26,837, that's been there the whole time. So, but yeah, it's dependent on how long they've been there and whether they're underwater from when it appeared. So a resting order on a long will appear below the price action, and a resting order on shorts will appear above. And then based off of when it appeared, yep, they just hit it. But based off of when they appeared and how long they've been there is whether I would call it resting or not. And the spoofers will just appear and disappear whenever they feel like it, and they're not resting because they're not actually like a liquidation level. But the liquid, yeah, that was a 400 push-up. 346 at 840 it hit. But yeah, the delta, like that really came from me watching Bitcoin. Like I was looking at like liquidity and like stops getting hit, and I would watch these like people get liquidated, and then I learned about stop hunting and all that stuff back then. So I would learn like where the stops exist was where I was aiming to enter, for example. And that's really where I started thinking of opposite. So I would like look for people to get liquidated to go long. And then I would look for people to, yeah. No. Go for the one time you're playing the acceptance. Especially if we're in an uptrend. That's why I was saying earlier, I wouldn't be married to any shorts because it's like on a mission and we're in price discovery and we don't have anything up here but net. So it's like nothing but net. And like when you're in price disco, it just does crazy stuff. Price disco. And on a Friday too, it's just like, yeah, man. Well, they also like there's an unlimited amount of participants at any given time. Like it's an infinite game where new players are substituted for other players. Like imagine like a soccer game that never ends, you know, and you have like somebody leaving as other people come. So that's what a reaccumulation is. Like it holds in a zone, and one player says, "Thank you very much. I'm taking my billions and going on my yacht. See ya." And then another person's like, "Oh, can I get in? Yeah, let's go back up to this level. Thank you." And they're just passing the baton to somebody else. So it's like an infinite game where it's never just one person playing the game. It's like thousands of entities at any given time. So, it's never static and it's never one person and it's never in control by one person. It's just, so that's why it can be irrational. To you, it's like, well, we just went up for like 8 days. So why we have to pull back, right? Like, but it's like the people that got in at the bottom, like, are passing the baton to somebody who got in halfway up, and then that person's passing it off to somebody who got in like an hour ago. And then like it's just like that's why it's irrational, because they're like covering, and then the people that are like selling a narrative in their heads like it has to pull back are the ones being the liquidity for that irrational move. And that's why one time in Bitcoin, like in 2022, and it was like the Ukraine war and everything, like it was dropping and everyone thought it was going to crash because they were invading Ukraine. And I was like, nah, dude, they are literally going to buy this. And I'm like buying right into like an invasion on my birthday. And it was like, it skyrocketed. And I was like, I told you. It's like, you got to do the opposite of what people think. And I was like, yeah, it's just like, it doesn't make it purposely it subverts expectations. It's like it'll flash a scissors like it's gonna do scissors, and then it does paper as you do rock. And it's like that's what it's intentionally designed to do, is like juke people out. And that's why the majority lose most times. Well, there's like there, and it like I said, it fits into everything. So it's like if you have a level you're looking at, and then like generally it's gonna coincide. Like there's so many times I'm like To says it's hitting my level, and I'm like, strange. It's also hitting a bunch of buyers up here. And he's like, yeah, it's a range short. And I'm like, okay, exactly. I'm in it with you. And it's like, and it's not even I'm in it with him because he said that. It was like, it's like the stars aligned. It's like you're getting like Jupiter in alignment with Mars and Venus and Earth with a whole like lunar eclipse. And it's just like everything lines up and you're like, go. But it's night, almost midnight here. I'd love to trade London. Yeah. I'd love to trade London, but I'm working. Nice. Yeah, it just pulled back on like 400 lots, say 800. Basically comma balance, yeah. But it's like, it's the inducement. And then a lot of times, yeah, it's just inducement. Damn. Yeah. 427 and 454. So sometimes like there's no significant delta in individual ticks on the way down, but the entire thing was negative whatever. So it's like that in and of itself is like a slingshot. It's a pullback into 800 sellers. And a lot of times the slingshot is to offset some buyers that it hits, like the 346 guy at 840. So it's like it gets exhausted and needs to pull back into some sell side and some trailing stops of some longs, and then it does that, and then it's like good enough, and then it just keeps going. Yep. Basically. Yeah. But yeah, take care, Sandy. Enjoy. Yeah, it's yeah, so that's on average in 5 minutes out if that's why I get sparkly and I'm like whatever cuz the I don't like the physiological change of trading. I just want the money, but I don't want the like uh dopamine or whatever. I just want yeah. So if it's like I'm in and I'm out, it's like surgical generally. But it's like those violent moves like similar to what woke corn dog just did where it's like it does the thing that I was expecting and doesn't need to be forever. It's just like and I'm trailing it rather, and it's just like I take it in my favor and I'm out. So I'm like not in drawdown when I hit the button. Like that's what I don't want to be in is like if I'm wrong, I'm instantly wrong and I'm out kind of thing. Or I'm right and I'm instantly right and then I'm out. In these conditions, it's that type of thing. But it's like how do we know? Like in from January to like March, it was just like repaint central. So it was like if you didn't see profit, take profit. Like that was So it's like I don't I don't yeah. Also, I noticed every time I would like be biased, like let's say set a target for like 200 ticks or whatever, like you'd get shy of that and then I'd get theoretically locked to that idea because I was so close and I didn't get it that I'd be like it'll go back eventually, and then it's like that becomes like a trap in and of itself, and then I get married to the trade. So it's like I don't want to get married to anything, so I just take it in that moment and then I have no problem reversing. So it's like I prefer the flexibility, I guess. I don't know. Right, right. Or not. Or just like yeah, and then like if it rips and then it's like I trail it and then it's like you know, I just don't expect like something miraculous from hitting the button. I just want it to go in my favor as I hit it, kind of thing. I don't know. It's hard. Like everyone's gonna have a different play style. It's like you have scalping and swinging and day trading. Like there's different aspects to the market. Like when I was into Bitcoin, I was doing like sometimes week long trades. So it depends on what you're trading, right? Like that was really what my indicator suite was for Bitcoin swings. Like it would get the absolute bottom and the absolute tops, and then you could basically like go about your day and just leave open trades and stuff. And then I had it send alerts to my phone because you never know when it's going to happen. I could be in the middle of a lesson, so I would get alerts dynamically and it would tell me like it's overbought, you want to sell, like that. So that was where it all began. Was I was more in the swinging and like a 4-hour trade or something like that. So it's like futures is more in my mind like temporary. It's just like, so everything is more like quick on the draw, quick in, quick out, call it a day, like that. Damn. I'm gonna end the stream here. So stay frugal, stay positive, stay blessed, everyone. Peace.